I'm April.
And I'm Caroline.
And
This is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody Happy Hour.
Hey, y'all. This is April.
It's Caroline.
It's Thursday.
And we're thirsty.
We got some Patron
April's
on the
trying
table.
to be real bougie up in here. She's got everything.
We got some Patron, and we're mixing it with some lime-flavored sparkling water. Lime and yuzu. I don't know what yuzu is.
I don't either. But
Mexican lime and Japanese yuzu. We're just international
wow,
today.
look at this, April.
It's really good.
I have to finish my one vodka beverage that I just made.
Oh, are you still in the vodkas? Because I thought they all went away.
Sorry. I'm sorry, April. What about your uncut gems? Tell us about your uncut gems. I just had to tell April about what's uncut gems. If you don't know about it, you got to look it up. Sorry, Julie Fox.
Yeah, I'm not TikTok aware at all.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for.
So we got 2 great emails we have to read.
We do.
It makes our day when we get a good email. Even when we get a bad email, I mean, it's still great. So if you're just bored and at your computer, you should send us an email. Read the one we got.
Okay, this one says, what in the hell will I do now? I've binged every one of your podcasts. Now I have to wait until next Thursday. I love y'all's sense of humor. Y'all are like peanut butter and jelly. You both crack me up. Keep sipping, so I will at least have plans on Thursday nights. Yes.
All right. And we got another one. It says, so I've looked up other podcasts and tried to listen, but to be honest, they literally made me want to shoot myself. It's dry. Nobody's drinking Trulies. And I'm just telling you this because I absolutely love the podcast. You keep it entertaining and you leave listeners wanting more. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, and this was from Amanda. Mine that I read.
There we go.
So
We love those.
We do. We do.
If you haven't put an official review in on Apple Podcasts, go copy and paste your email and put it on that review.
Oh,
That's where it
also,
counts.
I just have to tell you that I think I've mentioned her before, Casey. She
It got edited out,
doesn't.
but yes.
No.
Oh,
she's been,
Casey. Yeah, okay.
She's been. I've mentioned her with Cheryl or whatever a couple times. So she never had listened to any episodes. She listened to her first episode like last week or something, and then she listened today, she listened to Ed Kemper, and she's a psychologist, and she wanted you to know that it's actually less than 1% of the population has an IQ of 145.
What did I say? 10%?
No, you said 1, and I was like, the same thing. But
I probably said barely 1.
Well, so you were, she was basically saying that it's just very, very like uncommon. It's unheard of. And it was also really weird that they would do a IQ test for somebody in that situation.
Yeah.
Where they normally wouldn't or something. Maybe that was something they did back in the day or something. She just said it wasn't like appropriate to do that.
Well, they did it to Jeffrey Dahmer too, and he had a 145. I figured that out.
What?
Yes. And I believe Ted Bundy did.
They all had 145.
No, like Ted Bundy's was high. I don't know if he had a 145, I think. Are you ready to tell us a story?
I am so ready.
Who's your killer for today?
This is, how do we want to name it? How do we want to say it? It's BTK. If you've ever heard of him.
Also known as?
Dennis Rader.
Oh, my goodness.
The biggest loser
Douchebag.
/ dorkiest, like weirdest, bumbling guy you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And it was, you want to think he was like scary, but I think it's scary because he's so normal looking and fit into the crowd so well.
Yeah. He was real basic.
Real basic.
He wasn't 6'9" like Kemper.
No. And he wasn't good looking like Ted Bundy.
Bundy, yeah.
So this guy, okay, so we're going to have there's going to be some trigger warnings. There's going to be some descriptive situations here because there are children involved in the very beginning.
Oh, uh-huh.
So just get ready for that. There's not a lot of it, so if you need to fast forward, don't fast forward yet. But I'm going to start off with a little letter that he wrote.
Read it.
Okay, so it starts off with, I find the newspaper. Okay, this is how he writes. It's like he's trying to sound, he's trying to not sound smart here because the words are a little funky. Like I think he purposefully wrote it this way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I find the newspaper not writing about the poem on Vane unamusing. That's one of his victims. A little paragraph would have been enough. I know it not the media fault. The police chief, he keep things quiet and doesn't let the public know they're a psycho running around loose, strangling mostly women. And they're 7 in the ground. Who will be next? How many do I have to kill before I get my name in the paper or some national attention? Do the cop think that all those deaths are not related? Golly gee, yes, the MO is different in each, but look, a pattern is developing. The victims are tie-up most have been woman, phone cut, bring some bondage, matter, sadist tendencies, no struggle, outside the death spot, no witness except the Vane's kids. They were very lucky. A phone call saved them. Can't handle him. I was going, he spelled that G-O-N-G. I was going to tape the boys, but put plastic bag over their head like I did Joseph and Shirley, and then hang the girl. God, oh God, what a beautiful sexual relief that would have been. Josephine, when I hung her, really turned me on. Her pleading for mercy. Then the rope took whole. She helpless, staring at me with wide terror fill her eye. The rope getting tighter and tighter. You don't understand these things because you don't under the influence of Factor X. The same thing that made Son of Sam, Jack the Ripper, Harvey Glateman, Boston Strangler, Dr. H.H. Holmes, Pantyhose Strangler of Florida, Hillside Strangler, Ted of the West Coast, and many more infamous character kill, which seem a senseless, but we cannot help it there. There is no help, no cure, except death or being caught and put away. It a terrible nightmare, but you see, I don't lose any sleep over it. After a thing like Fox, I come home and go about life like anything else. And I will be like that until the urge hit me again. It not continuous, and I don't have a lot of time. It take a lot of time, set a kill, one mistake, and it all over. Since I about blew it on the phone, handwriting, letter is out. Letter guide too long and typewriter can be traced too. My short poem of death and maybe a drawing, later on a real picture and maybe a tape of sound will come your way. How will you know me? Before a murder or murders, you will receive a copy of the initials BTK. You keep that copy. The original will show up someday on Guess Who. Maybe you not be the unluck one. P.S. 2. How about some name for me? It's time. 7 down and many more to go. I like the following. How about you? The BTK Strangler. Wichita Strangler. So that he's giving him, he's providing names for that they can name him based on his suggestions. Poetic Strangler. The Bondage Strangler, or Psycho, the Wichita Hangman, the Wichita Executioner.
Oh my gosh.
The Garrote Phantom? What's a garrote? the Asphyxiator. And then it's signed BTK. So that is one of his many, 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 many letters that he sent to the newspaper. He sent letters to the newspaper. He sent letters to the TV station. He sent packages. I think there's like 11 total things at times that he sent different things.
Because
he made phone calls.
Recognition.
He was in dire need of attention. Like, he loved attention. He loved that people were in terror. He wrote poems. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
So let me tell you who this cat is. His name is Dennis Lynn Rader. Dennis Lynn. He was born March 9th, 1945. His parents, Dorothea and William Rader, and he's the oldest of four sons. They grew up in Wichita, Kansas. So his parents, they worked a lot when he was young, but there was no issues. There was no, abuse. His dad didn't give him porn. He was never abandoned by his family.
What? His mama's name wasn't Clarnell?
His mom's name wasn't Clarnell. He wasn't putting him in the basement, locking him up in chains, none of this. And the only thing that he said was that he felt maybe a little ignored by his mom, and maybe resented her for it a little bit. I mean, that's it. So from a young age, he noticed that he started having these sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing and trapping helpless people. He did say at one point his mom got her ring or something stuck in the couch. I guess her ring stuck to a spring in their couch, and she was kind of freaking out, oh my gosh, and started struggling and was I guess she thought she was stuck really bad. And so he said he noticed, you keep kicking my foot.
Sorry.
It's okay. He said that he noticed her struggling and enjoyed it.
Oh.
He enjoyed that she was stuck and couldn't get out and was having a reaction to it. And pretty sure he got a boner.
From his mama being stuck in a couch.
Yes.
This is just what gets me. He would be more like a nature if his household is normal, like he says, but he was born gross.
They said that they want to study they're please donate your brain so we can study it to see what it is that's going on.
Yeah. Like they do our CTE people.
Yeah. Wow. So he exhibited what they call zoosadism. Zoosadism, and that is pleasure derived from cruelty to animals, because he liked to strangle some cats.
It's always cats.
It's always the cats.
I'm not the only one that hates cats.
I mean, I just don't know. I guess I don't know why people pick cats. Could you get a squirrel?
Yeah, I guess you
it's
could. I think Dahmer
big
did
rat
squirrels first.
Okay, and so he would torture the animal. He strangled kittens or cats. I guess he just strangled cats. He acted out his sexual fetishes for voyeurism. I'm giving you all these definitions. Voyeurism is sexual interest or practice of watching other people being engaged in other behaviors. So undressing and just doing things that you would normally do in private. And then something else called autoerotic asphyxiation.
Ooh, choking?
Yes. So this is it's erotic asphyxiation is the intention of restricting oxygen from the brain purposes of sexual arousal, but it also is when it's done by somebody to themselves. So what he did...
Wait, done what?
He
done by somebody?
He did it to himself. He would...
Oh.
He would tie rope around his own neck and put bags over his own head, and he would strangle himself because that turned him on. And I'll post these pictures because I got plenty of them. If you haven't seen them, April?
No, I've not looked into BTK, and I don't know. I've just never loved him.
Go through some of those. He would have a camera.
He
would have a rope set up
outside.
to a pole. he dug a grave and put himself in that ditch and took pictures of himself with this like woman face mask.
Y'all go on to Instagram or Facebook and look at these pictures.
So
did he go to Cameron Hooker's house?
Probably.
That's how she had the girl in the box strung up. Wow.
So he would take pictures. He would rig up this camera to where he could pull a rope and it would take a picture of himself. He's basically taking selfies, but it's of himself tied up with bags over his head sometimes because he liked to be, it's like BDSM gone way wrong.
Yeah.
Like, do your BDSM, but this is like on a whole nother level. And he also, while he did this, dressed, that's the mask. That's that mask. It's like a woman face. Like it's
like a doll face.
Yes, like a doll face mask. And he would dress up in women's clothing while he did this. Like he liked his mom's lingerie. He loved women's clothing. So this is also part of the autoerotic asphyxiation. He would do cross-dressing along with it. He would spy on his neighbors, and he would like steal underwear, and he would like masturbate to all of this.
Wait, is he still little doing this, or are you just kind of telling us in general?
This is in general.
Okay.
So he went to Kansas. He went to University of Kansas. He dropped out after a year. He went to the Air Force for a little bit, and then he moved back to Park City.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's nothing that happened, though, like in his like childhood.
Wow.
I mean, besides he, I guess, randomly strangled cats.
Did he wet the bed?
They didn't say. So he moved to Park City. He ended up getting married to this lady named Paula. In 1971, they had 2 kids. He went to, he ended up getting like a graduate's degree. He worked at like the IGA. He worked at the meat market, and then he ended up working for ADT. And I'll tell you this as like when he starts, because he has all these different jobs throughout, his life. He likes to be the one who's in control. So whenever he loses a job, he starts to feel like, okay, I don't have control. I don't have a job. Like I'm not able to provide. And he goes through these like cooling off periods and these periods where he's killing and then he's cooling off and like, and then he kind of he starts working for ADT and he starts working as like, I'll tell you in a little bit because I can't think of what it's called, but where he's able to like take charge of people or like have control over certain things.
Okay.
So he became a compliance officer. That's what I was going to say. So he thought he was like a big bad dude because he was a compliance officer for the city.
IGA? Oh, I was like, for the grocery store?
These are all the jobs he has. He was a member of the Christ Lutheran Church, and he was elected to be their city council. He was also a Club Scout leader, and these are all the things that he's doing.
Okay.
So at this time, he is married, and they have no kids. So that was just kind of like summing it all up. So let's go to when everything starts. It's 1974.
Okay.
So this is on January 15th, 1974. He does these things whenever he finds somebody who he wants to kill. He has a routine where he goes and he prowls, and then he trolls, and then he stalks, and then he plans. So he is real organized. So he had his eye on this lady. Her name Julie Otero. So he had his eye on her, and he was like watching her for, several weeks. He also noticed that she had a daughter. Okay. So he's like, okay, starts following them a little bit every now and then and figures like, okay, that's going to be my first target. So there's 4 members of this family. They are the dad, Joseph Otero, he's 38. the mom, Julie Otero, she's 33. Then there's Joseph Jr., a little boy who's 9. And then there's Josephine, who's 11. And she's the daughter. So there's 4 people in his family. So Joseph, the little boy, he's at home. And he goes and he lets the dog out. Well, he opens the back door, let the dog out, and he sees this man just standing there. And that's whenever this man just like pushes his way into the house.
Oh, wow.
And so he goes.
Probably watched them and knew that
Yes.
they let the dog out every day at a certain time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, well, actually, no, this is because he's an idiot. He was only planning on the mom and daughter being at the house. So he was not aware that dad and son would be there because he thought that maybe the dad was going to take the son to school already because they actually have 3 other kids.
Okay.
So those 3 kids were already at school.
Okay. So this is early in the morning.
8:30 a.m.
Okay.
He has no shame doing everything during the day.
Oh.
8:30 in the morning. They let the dog out. He goes over, pushes his way into the house. He has a gun. He's, like I said, he's only expecting the mom and the daughter, and he got another kid. And the dad was a retired master sergeant, so he was like, oh gosh, there's this big guy. But the dad had recently been in a car wreck and had broken ribs, so he was injured. So he has the gun pointed at everybody. He's like, hey, telling him to get in the room. And the dad was like, listen to him, just do what he says. It's okay. He's like, what do you need? What do you want? We'll give you anything. Like, take it. And he's like, oh, all I need is money. And he liked to make everybody feel comfortable and kind of give them false hope. So he liked to say like, hey, if you cooperate, you're not going to get hurt. Like it's fine. Like it's okay. He wanted them to just be calm, which is like so annoying because you're going to, you know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And he knew at this point, he'd already decided in his head that he was going to kill all of them because they've already seen it. He doesn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
Nothing. So he already was like, I'm going to just have to kill them all.
And they know.
Yeah.
Once you see the face, you're going to get killed.
Yeah. So he said that he just loved to have people believe that they were going to be okay and that they would submit to him because he liked that feeling of control. So like I said, the dad was reassuring like, hey, let's just do it. The main target, I've heard 2 different things. I heard the main target was mom and I heard the main target was daughter. So it was either one of them, but he had already decided that they were going to be able to ID him, so he had to kill all of them. So this guy's so confusing. He started with the dad. He started put a rope around the dad's neck.
Okay.
He actually tied up the mom and the dad. Tied up mom and dad, hands, wrists tied together, ankles tied together behind their back. Like so they're like
hog-tied. Yeah.
So he tied them up. He said he wanted to make the dad as comfortable as possible. And he put a pillow under his head.
Wait, does he have a weapon?
He had him at gunpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wants to get the dad as comfortable because he has that cracked rib. You know, he's just so nice, whatever. And he is like I said, planning to kill this guy. So why does it even matter? Okay. Here's your warning. Here's your warning where the kids get involved. So it's coming. So first he tied up the dad, bound his wrists and ankles, wrapped the rope around the dad's neck. He didn't realize how long it was going to take to strangle him because he never had done it before because all he has strangled before is cats. Himself. So he did it long enough until the dad stopped moving. Then he did the same thing with the mom. Tied her up, strangled her until she stopped moving. Josephine was next. She asked, what's going on? And he said, I put your parents to sleep and you're next.
Oh.
What a douche.
How old was she again?
11.
Oh.
He strangled her until she quit moving. Then he did the same thing with Joseph Jr., the little boy. So at this point, the dad starts to wake up because he doesn't know how to strangle anybody. They're all just unconscious.
Oh, gosh.
So Dad starts waking up, so he puts a plastic bag over Dad's head. And he also decided to do the same thing with Joseph Jr., the little boy. And he also wrapped a T-shirt around Joseph's head, and he sat and waited until he was for sure gone. And at that point, his mom started waking up, and Mom actually saw him doing it to Son.
Horrible.
And so she starts freaking out, and she starts being hysterical. And at this point, Dennis is like, he kind of wanted to leave. He just wanted to leave. He's like, oh gosh, this is all going all wrong.
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't do anything. He's just stupid. He doesn't know how to strangle any, like I said, only done cats. He didn't know how much pressure to put on him. He didn't know how long it would take. So he just decided, he was like, okay, I'm not going to leave. I've already crossed the death path.
Well, and their first one is never goes right.
And who starts with 4?
Yeah.
But he didn't expect it, so he's an idiot. So then he goes to Mom, and he strangles her with the clove hitch strangle. So that's like, I guess, a certain kind of like maneuver where it kills you, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
there was a clove hitch killer.
Yeah. So, or maybe it's a certain type of knot. So then he's killed her. Mm-hmm. Well, Dad, he starts to bite a hole in the bag that's over his head. So now Daddy? Dad's over there. He starts biting the hole, and Dennis is like, oh, I didn't take that into consideration. So then he wraps a T-shirt over the hole and adds another bag, and then puts a belt around his neck, and he kills him. So now all 3, the mom, the dad, and the son, are all dead at this point. And this is the worst part.
Okay.
So everyone is gone, and now Josephine, the girl, this is why I think she was his main target. She was unconscious, but she wasn't dead. So he says, quote, my dark sadistic self came out to play. And then he says this, quote, this is all from him. With hanging in mind, I found the basement sewer pipe and attached the hangman's rope to it. I picked her up and carried her to the basement. She was awake but lethargic. She wasn't crying or fighting me. I removed her pants, pulled down her panties, and retied her ankles and knees and attached the rope to her wrists. I asked if her parents had a camera, as I wanted a picture of her bound. Gross. She said no, so I moved her on the floor below the hangman's noose. I told her she would go to sleep and be in heaven with her parents and brother. I applied the noose, and I lifted her up and tightened the rope. I was overwhelmed with excitement. I touched her and masturbated. The act of hanging alone is bad, and the media played this up big, with her toes only a few inches off the floor. It just happened this way, that she ended up like that. It wasn't planned to look that way.
Wow. So he doesn't rape. He gets off on the kill.
He doesn't rape anybody.
Yeah.
He kills them and he masturbates next to him.
Okay.
Or on them, or like there's
and
usually
just the
semen.
actual kill usually gratifies them.
Yeah. Yes. He loves to be in control and to watch people just struggle. I don't know what that is. I don't know. So he cleaned up the house. He took Mr. Otero's watch, and he took a radio. I don't know.
Trophies. But why his?
To sum it up, the dad was found laying face down on the floor at the foot of his bed. The mom was found on the bed, and they had both been gagged at this point, and she was laying on the bed. The son was also bound, and he was face down on the floor in the front of his bed, the foot of his bed, and then Josephine was in the basement, hung.
Oh man!
Barely
so yeah,
hung.
that had to have been his target.
So okay, there's no more kids anymore.
Good.
There's kids that are.
He says something. Why he says why he doesn't do. He didn't. Oh no, because he got off on the girl.
Yeah, I don't. This is why he makes no sense. Because he targets like a variety of people, and he kills people in a variety of ways, and he doesn't make sense. I think that's why one of the reasons why he was so seemingly scary, because he wasn't like scary looking or like, but just like, cause it didn't make sense. That's why I guess it was so freaky.
When you can't really warn, like Bundy, you knew he was going after brunettes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Dahmer's going after gay men.
Yeah.
Kemper's going after co-eds.
Yeah. So their bodies were discovered by the family's 3 older children.
Okay. Charlie,
Danny, and Carmen, who had been at school during the time of the killings. So the Charlie had found the bodies and found the mom and the dad, and then went outside and got the neighbors and called the cops. He didn't see the brother. He didn't see his siblings. And he said if he would have seen his siblings, it would have just been like even worse.
Oh, yeah.
But like awful. So police didn't know the motive, and they soon found out that the Otero family car was parked in a supermarket close by, and there were some witnesses who drove the car. So what he did is he left the house, and he got into their car and drove their car to a supermarket, and then got out of the car and left.
Why?
I don't know. He did that a couple of times. So there were witnesses, and all they said was that they saw it was a white male in his 30s. So police are thinking, okay, maybe this is a sex offender, and we'll check our list and we'll see if there's somebody who somehow we can make an arrest, because they knew that they had found semen at the scene, and they knew that like that car was connected to whoever it was, so they thought maybe he was some kind of sex offender. So actually, and then 9 months later, it's whenever the newspaper got their first letter, and it was from somebody who had claimed to murder the Otero family, because the police had no leads.
Of course.
And so the letter, I'm pretty sure that's the letter that I read at the beginning.
Okay.
Wanted them to know that he was the killer, and that they arrested the wrong people, because they actually had gone and arrested a couple other people thinking that it was a group of 3, and he wanted to clear that up and make sure they knew it wasn't those people that y'all arrested. It was me, and let me tell you why, and let me give you a lot of details about why it was me.
He said a last name in that letter. But he said like Baines or something like that. No.
Oh, that was describing another victim coming up.
Okay.
Because there was like 11 letters. Vian.
It's Vian. So maybe
Vian. It's Vian.
Vian. Okay.
I gotta say the first name to know the last name.
Okay.
Shirley. Yeah. I feel like I know all these names. So the letter that this one is, it might not be the letter that I read in the beginning. Okay. So he wanted them to know that he was the killer. Like I said, they arrested the wrong person. He told the newspaper that he wrote a letter and he placed it in the public library. And that it was in a book. It was like tucked into this engineering book. So this is where his games are starting. He's like, hey, I got the letter for you. Go find the letter. It's in the library in this engineering book. And this is where he described what happened to the Oteros. This is how they knew that they had arrested these wrong people. Okay. So it described the scene in detail, and like he would have been the only one to know. Like the cops would have been the only one to know these certain details. And he wanted to make sure that they knew that he acted alone. He had no help. He added that it was the monster within him that could not be stopped. So remember when I said something about, did I talk about Factor X? Yeah. Well, so he, like I said, gave him his own name, BTK. That stands for bind them, torture them, kill them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is the one that stuck. He gave all those options. He could have been the Phantom, whatever that Phantom person. No, he's BTK.
Okay.
That's the one that stuck.
It's obviously his preferred, because that's how he signed his letter.
Yes. And he just wanted to be an elite serial killer.
And he's not. He actually should not even be on This Week. No, he's famous, but he's not Bundy and Dahmer.
No. He's just famous because he was able to like evade, I guess, them for so long. And he stopped for so long.
And he's kind of recent, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this was, when did he got caught?
2005.
Yeah.
So he he loved the Son of Sam. He loved Jack the Ripper, and he wanted to emulate them. And he would he wanted to like copy some of the things they did. I mean, there was nothing original about him.
Yeah.
He just was like, I want to be like this one. I want to be like this one. And he just did all these weird things and he didn't even know what the hell he was doing. He was like a dork. He didn't know. He was a loser, I'm sure. He wasn't
original.
No.
Because I think it was like the Zodiac that wrote a bunch of letters to the police.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So we have the next one, April 4th, 1974. So January, now it's April.
Oh, it's same year. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is Catherine Bright. This is another one that he fucked up. So she was a student at Wichita State University, and Rader had been trolling her for a while. And she and her brother Kevin were on their way home to Catherine's house. Mm-hmm. And that's when they found Rader inside the house. But he was only he was waiting inside the house.
Oh,
so
get in.
He just gets in.
He knows the alarm codes.
Because he wasn't working at ADT yet, but it's because, I don't know if I think people just didn't lock, like that's still back probably when we didn't lock our doors and stuff, I guess. Because it didn't say like he broke in or whatever. It just says he was just in there waiting.
Yeah.
And but he was not expecting the brother to be there. He was expecting it just to be her.
Oh.
So she was walking home. It's her and her brother. Her brother comes over to the house, and it's two people.
So he's not very organized.
No, so he's in there waiting, and he's like, okay, well, now I have to shoot the brother. So there was a fight. Like the brother started coming at him, and then he just shot him in the face.
Wow.
Shot brother in the face. So brother's shot in the face, laying on the ground, and then he took Catherine into the bedroom, tied her up. He was initially going to strangle her, but she was putting up so much of a fight that he just started stabbing her in the abdomen and like stabbed her like 3 times over and over. And at this same time, Kevin was not dead. Brother was shot in the face.
Wow.
Not dead. Gets up, runs out of the house to find help because, I mean, what do? You don't want to go in there and try to save your sister. You were just shot in the face.
Yeah.
So runs to find help, and then I guess by this time he had to leave because he killed the sister, and now the brother's gone.
Yeah.
And so he had to leave. So he didn't get to anything. He didn't get anything out of it.
What a loser.
So the police come. Catherine was still alive, but she died in the hospital hours later. And since Kevin survived, you would think he was able to give a good description, but he didn't give much of one because he was shot in the face. So he basically said the same thing that the people who saw him coming out of the car of the Oteros, that he was a white male. 30s. But he said he had dark hair and a mustache. And they did do a composite sketch, and it looks like a cartoon. I mean, it's real bad.
Was he bald then? I wonder.
The picture shows him with like a beanie on.
Oh.
So it could have been cold. I guess. Well, I don't know if it's cold in April there. At this point, police have no idea if these crime scenes are related. The Oteros and Bright, because
there's nothing
why would they be?
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
So they're like, the only similarities are both of the phone lines were cut.
Oh.
Which I think that kind of was a thing, though, back in, I feel like I've heard that, or maybe it was just this one where they cut the phone lines.
And they were both in Wichita, so it's not like they were all of, okay.
Yeah. But there was no strangling at this one because he didn't have time to do any of that. So all the similarities were phone lines were cut. It was a home invasion. And then the differences were like, well, somebody's been shot, somebody's been stabbed, somebody was been strangled. So now we have 5 unsolved murders. Yeah, 5 in 3 months.
Wow.
And now a word from our sponsors.
meantime, Dennis Rader is living a seemingly normal life. April, how do you feel about this? I know. I agree. Then, guess what? 1975, he has a son.
What?
And so, you know what this means? His fantasy life is put on the back burner. So he has to be number one dad, right?
Wow.
This is the same time when he starts working for ADT Securities, which means he gets to enter people's homes. He sees the layout of the homes. He's learning the security systems, and he's installing them. And more importantly, he's getting a sense of power and fulfillment of being this like security guy and being in charge and having control.
And you know the damn alarm systems. And most people have a code, like a distress code or a password.
And I'm thinking that people were wanting to put in alarm systems right now because of freaking him.
I bet he was busy making the money. That's a little genius. I'm going to give him 3 points for that.
Okay.
Because when we got our alarm system, I was sus of he was a cute little college kid, like right out of college. But I was like, do you know that this is the MO of one of
serial killers?
Yeah. And he was like, I have no idea. But
like,
it makes you
sure
second
you
guess
don't.
it. Yeah. Can you can't even trust your damn security alarm guy.
No. You can't trust anyone.
Yeah, you can't.
Except for Alfred, because he does a great job mowing the lawn, and I will trust him.
Why, you gave him your security code?
Well, no, but sometimes when I'm not home and I have the dog door and the dogs go out, and sometimes I'm like, Alfred, can you just like close, like go through the dog door and like close the real door? And he's like, no, ma'am, I don't know, ma'am. And I'm like, Alfred, I trust you to do it.
No, and he's like, you're not about to have me on the news. After he gets a pair of your panties.
Oh, wondering where they went. No, it was Alfred. I did feed him beer a couple times, so.
Oh, he'll love that.
Yeah, he was thirsty. So for 3 years, April 1944 to 1977, BTK goes silent. BTK goes silent. So the Wichita, they're hoping, they're like, the terror's over, like he's done, like whatever happened.
Maybe he died.
Maybe died. Maybe he's in exactly. So this is what they would term as a cooling off period.
Yeah.
And this is when they just return to their normal life. But, you know, those urges, April, they get real strong. So
do you think, or does it say, is he just like, ooh, I don't want to kill, so let me try to stop, like being on the wagon, and then he falls off? Like Dennis Nielsen didn't want to kill, so he tried, but he ultimately just couldn't resist.
It just doesn't seem like he cared.
Okay, I didn't get that either.
It just seemed like he was like
distracted.
Maybe he wasn't able to do as much of the planning and trolling and stuff because now he has this kid, and so he didn't maybe want his. I don't know, because like your wife would surely know about what you're up to, and maybe he didn't have enough spare time, and he was getting this like sense of control through working for this ADT system, and so, but. If it's 3 years, not like the kid's 3, you still have a little kid.
Yeah.
Because this is when he starts back.
A little kid got bad.
Yeah. The
and his
3 teens or So Shirley Vianne Relford, March 17th, happy St. Patrick's Day, 1977. Mother of 3, kids under 8. They're outside playing. They're approached by a man who showed them a picture and asked, hey, have you seen my wife? And the kids are like, no, I haven't seen it. And he was like, well, is your mom home? Maybe your mom's seen my wife. And they're like, yeah, mom's home. So the kids took him over to the house. And when mom came to the door, which was Shirley, Dennis forced his way into the house. He took control of her and tied her up. At this point, the kids start crying. So he puts them in the bathroom, throws some toys in there, and like blankets, and ties the door shut. Then he goes and he murders Shirley in the other room. But what actually happened is the kids also were able to see out of the door. And so they watched. There was one boy that watched.
What was happening?
And saw the whole thing and saw his mom being murdered.
Oh,
but then I also heard, and like I said, some other stuff that I watched and listened to, that the kids were able to escape out of the window. Like, I don't know if that really, but either way, the kids were not harmed because he just wanted to, you know.
Was this his last? Does he have any more victims with kids in the house after this?
There's one with a 2-year-old kid in the house.
Okay.
Like a baby. So Shirley was found laying face down on her bed with semen left near her head.
What?
So he just masturbates right there.
Yeah.
The kids confirmed it was a white male.
Oh, great.
So that's fun. 9 months later, Nancy Fox, December 8th, 1977. She's 26. So we're just rolling all over the place with these ages and everything.
Yeah, he's all over.
This is why he's so dumb.
He has no type.
This is another one of his trolling projects. So he saw her go into her house one night. He looked in her mailbox to find out her name. And then he found out where she worked. This is when he calls these his projects as well. So he said that the more he knows about a person, the more comfortable he feels. What a douche.
What a douche.
And he said that she was a perfect victim because she was small and petite and lived alone. This bitch ain't small. She ain't petite. Ain't nobody coming up in my house.
Not coming.
Nancy Fox comes home, and guess what? Motherfucking Dennis is in her house.
Wow.
So he likes to do that. I think this is the one where he's hiding in her closet.
Did we ever find out if these are actually ADT clients or these are like, how does he pick them?
I don't know how he picks them. He's an idiot. He doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He doesn't make any sense.
Hard.
So he bound her. He killed her. She's not violated, which means she's not raped, but semen is found in like a negligee or whatever left next to her head or whatever.
Wow.
I mean, come on. The following day, the police department get a call from somebody. So he goes and he uses a payphone to call the police.
What a loser.
He says, "You will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing Street, Nancy Fox." So he's taunting the police. They trace the call to the payphone. And of course, there were some witnesses. And once again, it was a white male. I'm sick of these white males. So now all these murders, so far, there's no rape involved, but semen is left at like every scene. But
when are they going to bring in the BAU?
What's that?
The Behavior Analysis Unit. Does the FBI intervene at all?
I don't know what you're talking about. Words.
The
No?
FBI doesn't ever come in and try to say, "Oh, we got a serial killer."
No, because they didn't know these were all connected because they're
Oh
all
my
so
God.
different, I guess. So, like, and also there's semen left at all these scenes, but they didn't have DNA back then, and there was no fingerprints. They had no other evidence, and they couldn't connect them.
Wow.
So at this point, we have 7 deaths, no leads. On February 10th, 1978, a letter was sent to the Wichita Eagle newspaper from BTK. This is actually the letter I was talking about at the beginning.
Okay.
I knew I told myself which one it was because there's so many. So this one is where he took credit for all 7 murders. He gave all the details about victims and crimes. The only thing he mentions, or let me tell you, one thing that he mentions is being under the influence of factor X. So that is what he calls this dark side of him that controls him, that he's unable to stop. It's this demon inside of him that entered him, he says, at some point when he was a kid.
His dark passenger. That's what Dexter called it.
Oh my gosh. He compares himself to several infamous killers. Like I said, Son of Sam, Jack the Ripper, Boston Stranglers, Ted of the West. He studies them. He models himself after them. And one of the lines of the letter he wrote, like I said, how many more times do I have to kill before I get any recognition or some national attention?
Well, and then he's like, come on, get some fat on your head, cops.
Fat.
Is that what it's called? Get some fat on your head?
I don't know, but apparently the police force were referred to themselves as like the hot dog court. I don't know. The hot dogs? Maybe they were.
If they're referring to themselves as the hot dog carts, I see why they have not put it together that they have a serial killer.
A hot dog clan?
Loose.
Why would they name the hot dog clan task force? Look it up.
Come on, Wichita.
The hot dog. Look and see if Wichita BTK hot dog clan task force. Figure it out. I'm dying if they did, because that's what I read at some point. The police they finally decided to alert the community. So this whole time they weren't.
Thank you for that.
They weren't alerting the community? What? Because they're a hot dog clan. So they were like, hey, everybody, attention, attention. Wichita, we got a serial killer. That's exactly how they did it. And
Hot Dog Squad.
Oh my gosh, is it so true? Was I right?
It says, during the BTK murders, the Kansas City police formed a task force called the Hot Dog Squad. And this guy was like, I'm not joking, called the Hot Dog Squad.
Dude, can you believe I was actually right? I knew I didn't dream that. Why would they put that as their name? What does it mean? What did you Google to find it?
I just did Hot Dogs
Squad BTK.
Hot Dog Police BTK.
Victorion. Okay, so the Hot Dog Squad is on it. Like, they are like, hey, we're going to alert the community. We're going to be like, hey, there's a serial killer, and we're going to ask them for help on the investigation. We need to let them know and be aware of what's going on. Hot Dog Squad unite.
I just can't even.
So okay, where were we? What year was that? 1977. And now we're going to 1978. So this is 6 months, or June 1978, 6 months after Nancy Fox's murder. He has a daughter. Dennis Rader has a daughter, Carrie. Wow. And then he went silent. Guess how many years? Guess between 1 and 15, how many years?
15.
8.
Wow.
While raising his family. The police, this is when they thought, maybe he's in jail. Maybe he's died. Maybe he just, I don't know.
But in the meantime, he's still dressing up as a woman.
Probably.
And like doing autoerotic type stuff.
Probably.
When they leave, I think. Seemed like I watched the movie.
Because he's been keeping little, like, trophies.
And they can live off of that.
They go and they find, like, later on, they'll find, like, all this, like, he's taken thousands of photographs. He's cut out things from magazines. Wow. He has all kinds of, like, just all these things. So I'm sure he's.
Does he have a basement that his wife's not allowed to go into?
Probably, just like Sweet Pea does. Yeah, he has a place that is at one of his, like, places where he works, where he has his stuff in a drawer.
Oh.
And then
keeps it close.
Yeah, and then, like, at his house, he has a box and all this weird shit. Like, he's great. So they were like, okay, maybe. Oh my gosh, April, you are so right. He was able to sustain himself through his erotic fantasy and asphyxiation fetish.
I thought you typed that. How did you?
I
not know
did,
that?
but I didn't read that one next sentence. So, yeah, that's how he does. That's how he does it. Oh my gosh, I knew what I was gonna say. But okay, 1985, he is done with his 8 years, and he's thirsty. And he's not thirsty for Patron. He's not thirsty for vodka. He's thirsty for blood. And this is your girl, Maureen Hedge. April.
Oh.
Tell us what you know about Maureen Hedge.
Well,
The next victim, 53-year-old, recently widowed, mother of 4, and grandmother, living only 6 houses down from Rader.
okay. So, like I've told y'all before, when I travel,
She's obsessed.
I look for. So, like, say we're in the car, I ask Sweet Pea, what are the couple towns? What are the next couple towns we're going to go through? So he'll tell me. So everyone, I'll Google famous murders or serial killers or whatever in these towns because I make them detour. Well, we had stopped at a QT in Wichita, Kansas, going to wherever Salina, Kansas, because my brother-in-law was at Kansas Wesleyan, right? So we stopped to pee, to get coffee. So I Googled killers from Wichita, Kansas.
Oh.
Now, I was never a BTK fan, so I had no idea. I usually would know something like that, right? And I'd have had it quick planned.
Because this was recent.
I'm on the toilet Googling it, and I'm like, what the hell? So then I was like, BTK? So then I go to the Wikipedia, because there's usually an address on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Or I would Google.
And it has that whole chart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not only does BTK live on Independence Street, a victim does.
Maureen Hedge.
So then I have to put from where I am to this address. Why is it the next street over from the QT? And I was like,
well, I guess it's not that big a town.
To be. So all we had to do is pull out of the QT, take a right, and that was the street. So we went to BTK's house first.
Oh my gosh, and you just wait till you hear what happened.
It's not there.
The house isn't there?
They
Her
demolished,
house?
no, his. His house isn't there. And so then I was like, well, where does she live? And so we went to her house.
Oh, shit.
A new family was living in there. Like
They had no idea.
They know because there was
Did
a
you ask
neighbor outside. And so I was like, Sweepy, stop. So he stopped, rolled down the window. And of course I tell him. And he was like, oh, yeah, we get this all the time.
What did you say?
He knew BTK killer, Dennis Rader. He said he had gotten into it with him.
Because he tried to be like, he's such a douche.
And controlling. So he got on to this guy about the type of flowers and mulch
because
that he had
this is whenever he was a compliance or whatever, and he would he could tell people how high their grass could be, that their dogs need to be on a leash. That's coming up.
Okay. Well, this is one of the guys. So I get out and I take a picture with him. I was like, can I take a picture? And I put it on Facebook, and then Sweet Pea made me take it down because he says, what if you get sued? What if this guy, he didn't give you your
Sweet Pea, come on, Sweet Pea. Hell.
So I'm at BTK's neighbor, saw where his house, and there's just an empty lot right there. Like you can tell there's this big old gap.
And the neighbors knew that they were living in a house where somebody died, and they just still live there?
Yeah. It's probably got a good rent price. And it's just a basic neighborhood. Like they weren't.
Yeah.
I'll have to find it in my pictures one day.
No, I think it is very basic. So listen, Dennis knew Maureen, knew her, but they weren't close. It's just like knew that was her neighbor. And so that's how he started following her or whatever. So Catherine Ramsland, she's the one who wrote the book. She's a forensic psychologist. She's the author of Confessions of a Serial Killer, The Untold Story of Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer. That's the title of the book.
Okay.
Rader told her that all of a sudden one day he had a fantasy about what his hands would look like around her neck. And once he did that, she became his next project.
Wow.
So there was literally no rhyme or reason. He just was like, oh, that's so weird. He knew the layout of her house because it matched his house. He broke into her house, waited in her closet until she went to bed. That's when he revealed himself to her and strangled her. Then, just wait. He drove her body to the Lutheran church.
Why?
Where he was a member and he was president of the church council.
Of course he was.
He tied her up, took pictures of her in different positions, different forms of bondage, and then he hid her in a ditch. So he had already dug these ditches. And this ditch is where he would take some pictures of himself. So he's himself laid in this ditch.
Okay, so I'm going to take it back for the police. I see why they haven't really figured it out.
Because
now he's all over the place.
He's all over the place. Because now he's taking people away and leaving, like, who, I don't know. It's just, he does not make any sense. So he hides her in this ditch. She was found there several days later. The police had no suspects because they were like, well, they didn't think it was BTK because it wasn't his MO. Like, it's not even close. Because they were like, he's also an episode of Snapped I watched. Oh my gosh.
Did he bind her?
He strangled her. He strangled her to kill her. Then that's when he took her away, took her to the church, and he tied her up while she's dead.
Okay.
And took all these pictures of her. So he
so does he hog tie everybody? Is everybody tied in the same way?
I think no.
He says no pattern.
It says he took pictures of her in several different forms of bondage.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So
weirdo.
I don't understand how that does. I don't understand it. So that's fine. They're like, we thought his MO was cut the phone line, go into the house, strangle the victim, leave the body at the home. Nope, not this time. And he even said that his daughter, she was scared because she's pretty young at this point, and she was like
8.
Yes. So she's talking to the dad, and she's talking to Dennis, and she's like, oh, I'm scared because of the murder that happened next door, because literally next door, and that it was a home invasion. But dad was reassured her that she was safe and he would protect her. You know, he was such a genuine guy.
Wow.
Talk about living a double life. I mean, she
was safe.
He would have come, you have to majorly compartmentalize and separate everything.
Yeah. Because it didn't affect him in
any way.
Yeah.
Just hit the thing. So a year later, September 1986, Vicki Wedgerly. She's 28.
Wow.
I mean, mother of 2. She was a pianist. She had to knock at the door one evening. It was a man claiming to be an AT&T technician. He was saying AT&T.
Wow.
He was saying there was a problem with the phone lines, so she let him in. The man was, of course, motherfucker Dennis.
Listen, just because they're... you should never trust a white male in their 30s. And that's why he was trusted, because he was a white male in his 30s.
He just looked like a normal person.
You should never trust a white male in their 30s.
I won't. I don't. So Vicki put up a fight. She was able to scratch him, leaving evidence under her fingernails. However, the police, they still didn't have tools to do DNA testing, so they couldn't confirm that it was anybody. At this scene, there was no semen left. She died from strangulation. Her 2-year-old son was at home in the other room at the time of the killing.
Wow.
So I'm sure he was asleep. So
lucky for him.
That was 1986. So 1986.
Wait, no semen? Wow.
Yep. 1986 through 1991. So for 5 years, he goes with no murders. He's busy with his job. He's family. He's becoming heavily involved in the church. He's loving being able to fool people because it gives him this sense of control. And then in 1991, Dennis lost his job. I don't even know which job he has at this point. He has low self-esteem because now his wife, Paula, is having to be the breadwinner.
Oh.
So, you know what he does again? He turns to his fantasy life to reestablish control.
Do you know? Okay.
Which meant murder.
So he couldn't keep a job. Kemper couldn't keep a job. Bundy couldn't keep a job.
Dirty Chad can't keep a job. And
It's
he
common.
lives with his mom.
Yes.
He's about to
Kemper.
become the next
I.
serial killer.
As long as he don't, he'll probably come for us first.
How many episodes do you think he's listened to? Do you think he falls asleep to us at night? Are we his ASMR?
Oh,
Maybe he
goodness.
masturbates to us?
Ew.
So he's taken another 5-year break. It's 1991, January 1991. And good old Dolores Davis, 62. I don't understand.
This guy.
He went from 28-year-old to 62-year-old. Her body was found in a ditch with a woman mask over her face. And I say woman mask, it's like the porcelain doll looking white mask with like the open eyeball slits that are so freaking scary. You will see the picture. I will post probably 18 of them on Instagram and everywhere else. At this point, no one has heard from BTK since 1978 when he admitted to Nancy Fox. So there's no reason why he would still be killing. He's not communicating. Like, they don't know. They're like, he's disappeared for so long. Like, even though Dolores was strangled, she was found outside in a ditch with a mask on. Like, no one's thinking this is BTK. He's never had somebody with a mask on. So now they have 3 unsolved murders. Maureen Hedge, Vicky Wedgerly, and Dolores Davis. And it stayed this way for several years. Those are all the unsolved ones.
Wait. The other ones are solved?
The other ones they know are BTK because he talked about it in the letters.
Okay.
So these are the 3 unsolved. So 4 months after Dolores Davis was murdered, Dennis gets a job as a compliance officer. Oh, barf. Do you want to barf?
Wow.
So now he has the right to go into people's homes, tell people how high their grass can be.
That's why he argued with him.
Yes.
I just thought this whole time that he was just controlling and what?
He told people that they needed to have their dogs on a leash. He had a tranquilizer gun. And he now has this new type of control he's never had before.
Wow.
So this is what is making him, like, not have to kill.
Okay.
So a lady named Mary Capps works with him at the compliance office,
Okay.
whatever. And this nasty Dennis was her boss. Poor lady.
Oh.
So she described him in an episode of Snapped, saying that he was mean, controlling, he micromanaged everything, and she felt like that she was always walking on eggshells, and you never knew when he was going to just snap.
Oh.
She described him. She described a time where she was looking in like the filing cabinet. She was looking for some paperwork, and he was like, "You're not going fast enough." And he started getting real mad, and she's like, had her back to him, and all of a sudden she hears the door shut, and then she like turns around and looks, and he's like closing and locking the door, and she gets this weird feeling like she doesn't like the guy. She thinks he's an asshole. She doesn't even want to work. She just always has had this weird vibe about him. So she looks in his face. She's like, it was terrifying, the look that was on his face. She starts screaming. She goes to the intercom on the phone, like starts punching numbers. She's like, help, help. She's like telling him, open the door. And he starts like slowly walking towards her and like has this look in his face, in his eyes. And all of a sudden he just was like, and just walks over to the door and opens it like nothing happened.
Wow.
But it was obviously this very like intense moment where she
better
was
quit.
She filed She complained about him the next day. She filed multiple complaints against him. She just was like, there's something off. Something's going on. Like, he's not normal. Like,
they probably didn't listen to her.
No, of course they didn't listen to her. Because guess why? Because he was
a woman.
a church leader. He was a Boy Scout, Cub Scout leader.
Gosh.
He was a loving husband and a father. And everyone thought he was a good guy, even though his neighbors obviously knew he was a douche.
Devils can be in the church, too. I need people to quit thinking that just because they go to church.
100%. 100%.
They go to the church just to do dirty.
Yes. That's
crazy.
And it's yes. To Dennis, domination and control is pleasurable. We know this. And with his job carrying a badge now, he felt super powerful. And this is why he had his compliance officer badge. You should see him. He literally had like this like a police officer outfit. And he was able to vanish until he felt the need to go public again.
Wow.
And so not 30 years. 1991 to 2004.
Oh, it's getting close.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Okay, January 2004. It's the 30th anniversary of the Otero murders. And it's been...
It's the what anniversary?
The 30th.
Oh, damn.
The 30th anniversary of the Otero murders. And it's been 13 years since BTK last murdered.
Wow.
So... A reporter from the Wichita Eagle newspaper wrote a story about the Otero murders because it was,
an anniversary.
Anniversary. It was unsolved. I mean, they knew who it was, but they didn't know who it was. So BTK, or I don't ever know what to call him, Dennis, whatever, loser, sees the paper and he feels the hype. He feels it. It starts to refuel his ego. Around the same time, his son had just moved out of the house because he's joining the Navy. The daughter got married, and now he's empty nest. And guess what? It's time to play.
Oh, my goodness.
So he starts communicating with the police.
How old is he? He probably can't even get it up anymore.
Oh, I'm sure he can if you gets a rope and some bags and some masks and some women's clothing. He's going to be able to do it. A few months go by, and the Wichita Eagle gets a letter from BTK claiming that he was behind the murder of Vicki Wedgerly. That's one of the unsolved ones.
Okay.
So also he attached some photos of her body in various positions, and the police knew the photos were taken by the killer because they did not take these photos, and that it would had to be him,
Yeah.
And then
Whoever, somebody at the crime scene.
yeah, and it also included was a picture of her driver's license, which was missing from the crime scene. So everyone's shocked. They're like, why would he reemerge after all these years of getting away with so many killings? Yeah. And so, it's because of his ego. Yeah. He's this huge ego. He loves the spotlight. He enjoys knowing that he's wreaking havoc on people and the community, and he's messing with law enforcement, and this reemergence is giving him so much attention. Like, he's living his best life, loving it. He's reliving all these killings. So he's the lead story on TV for like over the next like year and a half. And it's this whole new generation of people. So it's like they're just learning about him. So now everybody's like so scared. They're just like, oh my gosh, he cut phone lines, he strangled people. They knew like this guy was getting away with murder, and they're all scared to death. So that was January. And now we go to December 13th, 2004. Cake TV, Kake,
okay,
got a call from a viewer saying that they found something in the park and they think it's related to the BTK case. So a reporter goes out there and finds a box with a Barbie doll who had a noose around its neck, and the noose was attached to a pipe. So like Barbie doll with the little string around its neck
Yeah.
attached to this tiny little piece of a white like PVC pipe, resembling Josephine Ortero.
What?
Yes.
How? What do you mean resembling?
It
How her body was laid?
it was basically it was resembling her because she was hanging from the pipe in the basement. So he's
okay.
like, yeah. I'll put a picture of that too.
Wow.
So, yeah, the doll was there in the box along with the ID of Nancy Fox. So he's able to taunt and mock and have all this like sense of domination over law enforcement. And
So somebody finds this box in a park.
yes,
Is this where he used to dig a ditch and
I don't know. He
put
put these.
himself in there?
He did this a lot. Like he would
hide his things, trophies.
Yeah. So after after his reappearance, police were like, they're like, we are getting this guy. We're getting this guy. Technology has advanced. And guess what? They have bodily fluids that they have kept.
Yes.
That were left behind from the crime scenes. They also still have that one lady who had DNA under her fingernails.
Okay.
And so they have that too. So they're like, we are way advanced from the 70s now, and they have all this evidence preserved. And so they start swabbing all these people because they're like, okay, we're going to try to match the DNA. We have his DNA now, and we just now need to match it with somebody. So they go and they have a swabathon or whatever.
And just random people in
Like
Wichita.
maybe like convicted rapists or
okay.
like people who are just
Because I
have
guess
been
they
arrested.
wouldn't have DNA on file because it's now new.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have no matches. I know. The terrorizing continues. The postcard is sent to Cake TV.
Hey, police, next time just go to local churches and swab people there.
I'm telling you. So what's also crazy is that like he loved this TV station and he loved that newspaper. Those are the two. So he had actually gone and he went to the people from the church called up Cake TV and they're like, hey, we want to take a tour of Cake TV. So he went with some other people from the church and took a tour. So he's up there with the people snapping pictures. And this reporter is like, he's up there snapping pictures. We're next to him. I'm meeting him. We're reporting on him the same day. He's in the studio. Like,
she said this after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. But like, can you imagine you're hunting this guy and he's literally right there in front of your face. You have no clue.
No idea.
I mean, I think that's why he was so scary.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, oh my gosh, he was literally right there.
Right there.
So
he passed around the offering plate at the church.
Yes. So January 25th, 2005, finally, here we go. Cake TV receives another message from BTK, and this is about a cereal box that he left in the back of a truck in a parking lot, and it was a joke on serial killer. It was like a cereal box. So, yeah, he's like, okay.
Ridiculous.
Surveillance cameras, like, from the parking lot, were able to track that it was a Jeep Cherokee. So they saw this Jeep Cherokee and they saw this person like put something in the back of this truck. Okay. So they end up getting the box from out of this pickup truck, right? And within the box was some jewelry and a note saying like, can I communicate through a floppy disk and it not be traced through a computer? Be honest. So at this point he thinks that like he's like really best friends with the police, and he said, hey, like give a response in the newspaper, in this certain section of the newspaper, and say, Rex, it will be okay. Like that's their response. This guy's so weird.
He just needed some friends.
He has no friends. So the police sent their reply, and in Rader's mind, he's like, okay, yeah, we're friends. Like, I can't imagine they would ever lie to me. So a few weeks later, they receive another package from BTK, which contains a floppy disk. Police found metadata embedded in a deleted Microsoft Word document that was, unknown to Rader, still stored on the floppy disk. So this metadata contained words, Christ Lutheran Church. And the document was marked as last modified by Dennis. So a quick internet search determined that Dennis Rader was president of the church council. And when investigators drove by his house, what did they see? A black Jeep Cherokee.
Oh, my goodness.
The type of vehicle seen in the surveillance video of the Home Depot was parked outside the house. So this is strong circumstantial evidence. Like, all they need now is to match the DNA, and then they'll be able to make an arrest.
Yes.
But how are they going to get the DNA? They can't just go up to the house, because then he going to run.
I forgot what they do. Go.
I'm going to tell you. Police obtain a warrant to test a pap smear taken from his daughter, Carrie, from college. They just got, I don't know, this was kind of nasty, but they
I was like, are they going to dig through the trash can?
No, if the DNA, they're looking for familial DNA.
Okay.
So we know all about familial DNA, and so basically you can track it, and if it matches your family, then that's how they caught the D'Angelo.
Yeah.
What's the name? I forget it again. Whatever.
Yeah.
So between her DNA and the DNA left behind at crime scenes and the sample that was underneath Wegerle's fingernails, this would indicate the killer was closely related to the daughter, and combined with other evidence, they would have enough to make an arrest.
Yay.
Within 24 hours.
Okay.
The DNA results come back. And guess what?
It's a match.
It's a match.
He the daddy. He the pappy.
Hey, the daddy. It's a match.
You are the father.
The DNA is matched with the BTK DNA. So by connecting the dots, it's a slam dunk. They have the ability to arrest him. And they knew his car. They knew where he worked. They knew he would go to the church. And they tracked him down and pulled his ass over and arrested him right there.
Yay. Wait. What happened? Was there a Home Depot? Where was he at?
That's where he left one of his cereal. That's
okay.
It was the truck in a Home Depot parking lot,
Okay,
and that's where he left the box.
Okay.
And that's where they saw the cameras and saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, after his arrest, he admitted to the murders of Maureen Hedge and Denise Davis, which were the other two left unsolved. And so now they have the 10 murders. All of them. August 2005, Dennis pled guilty to all 10 murders, gave his confession to the judge by going through every little detail of each murder, every little detail.
Wow. They love that.
He loved it. He was, and here's the thing, this is what's
they feel like they're bragging on themselves.
Yes. Talked about it very matter-of-factly about it was like he was describing how to cook a meal.
Yeah.
Just like he had no emotion towards the family, to the survivors, to the victims, no remorse, and he just seemed pretty proud of what he did. He's like, yeah, I just did it. I just did that.
It.
Yeah, I mean, I had to strangle them, and then, it didn't really work very well, so I had to go and strangle him and do this and put the bag over his head, and he tried to bite a hold of the bag, and I can't. So he was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences, and he's out for parole next week.
No way.
No, I'm just kidding. 10 consecutive life sentences with a minimum of 175 years.
Yay. So what, is he in Kansas in prison, obviously?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone wanted the death penalty.
And what happened?
But
he confessed.
The years when he committed all the crimes, Kansas did not have the death penalty.
What?
So it's not
Well,
enforceable.
okay.
However, it's okay because he is in solitary confinement. He's in there 23 hours a day. He has 1 hour exercise per day, and he gets 3 showers a week.
Ooh.
So he got sweaty balls.
He is rank.
And maybe he got TV time or something for being good. I don't know. So Later, he was diagnosed as being narcissistic, antisocial,
100%.
obsessive compulsive disorder. It was his grandiose sense of self, and he always believed he was special, and so he was entitled to have this special treatment. He had this need for attention, blah, 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 blah. Duh. They still don't know what caused him to be the monster he became. Because he wasn't abused, didn't come from a bad family. And this is when they were like, we really hope that he donates his brain to science because we could have another BTK in the future and we don't know how to figure it out.
Don't even know.
Let me read this one quote also from this. This guy is Peter Vronsky. He's the author of like some other serial killer books. And he says that he did some studies of psychopaths using MRIs have detected the frontal lobe atrophy similar to NFL player injuries. So when they look at brain reactions, various points light up in ways that are opposite of somebody who has with like PTSD or whatever. Like there's a highly stimulated response from the brain where psychopaths, it's the opposite. So it's understimulated, under-responsive. So we all learn essentially by doing. Like you put your hand on a hot stove, you learn not to do it again. Mm-hmm. But psychopaths don't learn. They can give a psychopath electric shock. They can tell him like, hey, you're about to get an electric shock and do a countdown, but they won't react. Because they know the electric shock is coming and they don't worry about it. That's why so many psychopaths get so bored so quickly because they need excitement. And he says they take these enormous risks because they have no anxiety, driving around a corpse in the back of the truck, like in the back of their car.
Not
like,
even nervous.
The rest of us would be freaking out, but they don't.
Wow.
And that's kind of, he related that to BTK. And there is actually one last thing that.
So when they say frontal lobe atrophy, that's shrinking, right? Like muscle atrophy is like your muscles shrinking. Hypertrophy is like it's growing. And so how does it shrink?
I don't know. Typically, it's if you're like
concussed,
but like
multiple times.
I don't know.
Or season.
Maybe he just wanted to be famous. There was this one other, this is the final note. He intended to kill this one girl in 1979 named Anna Williams, 63. She escaped death by returning home much later than expected. He was actually like waiting in her house and like waiting, but she never showed up. So he was tired of waiting and left.
He told us about it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. He became so impatient.
What?
Okay.
Anna, I wonder what Anna thinks.
But listen, this is the poem that he wrote. This is Anna's poem.
He wrote it to Anna.
Or he
about
wrote
Anna.
it about her. It's called, Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? T was perfect plan of deviant pleasure, so bold on that spring night. My inner feeling, hot with propension of new awakening season, worn the inner fear and rapture, my pleasure of entanglement, like new vines at night. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Drop of fear, fresh spring rain would roll down from your nakedness to scent to lofty fever that burns within. In that small world of longing, fear, rapture, and desperation, the game we play, fall on devil's ears, fantasy spring, forth mounts to storm fury, the winter calm at the end. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Alone now in another time span, I lay with sweet enraptured garments across my private thought, bed of spring, moist grass, clean before the sun, enslaved with control, warm wind scenting the air, sunlight sparkle, tears in eyes so deep and clear. Alone again, I trod in past memory of mirrors and ponder why for number 8 was not. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear?
Oh, she was going to be the 8th victim. No, because there was 10. She was supposed to be number 8.
Yes.
Okay.
This was written to him.
He's
1979, after he broke into her house. She wasn't home. He waited. He got bored and left, and I guess decided to write her a poem.
Listen.
The worst thing I've ever read in my life. I just threw up 4 times reading it.
He had no swag.
0%. By the way, Paula filed for an emergency divorce.
Thank you, Paula. Poor Paula.
And that's BTK, bitches.
Wait, where are his kids now?
The son, I don't know, but the daughter did, like, she's done a whole 2020, and she's done a whole bunch of things. Like, just kind of talking about how it is to be the daughter of which is your goal in life, to be the daughter of a serial killer.
Well, yeah. I do sometimes say I wish my dad was a serial killer. I'm just joking, Daddy.
He's rolling. He's like, oh, hell.
He was like, just wait.
So that is it,
That
April.
was great. He sucks, but that was great.
Can you believe
he's so
he did
confusing?
All that? Awful.
He's so confusing.
I cannot.
And you know what? We'll never study him because what can we learn from him?
I don't know, but they really want to see what his brain is like or what happened because it's so confusing. We're going to have to make this 2-parter. Probably it's so long.
I don't know. We'll see. We had a bunch of cough breaks in between.
Yeah. April
All
had some.
right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in.
Thanks. I'm going to go get my Whataburger.
We will see y'all next week for some Jeffrey.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't forget to Don't forget to
rate, review, and subscribe.
Go and do it right now, right now, right now. Do it, do it, do it. Don't forget to
stay aware.
Stay alive.
And always be BTK.
Bye, y'all.
But don't be like BTK.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.